Welcome to GreenBiz Studio. I'm John Davies, Senior Vice President at GreenBiz, and I'm excited to be speaking with Julie Zaniewski, Director of Sustainability at Dow. Welcome, Julie.
Hi, John. Thanks for having me. Good to see you again.
Well, it's great to see you as well. And so we're all ready for circularity. And why is designing for circularity important to Dow?
Well, it's important for all of us, of course. That's why we're here. That's why we're at Circularity 22, right? And designing for it is, we think, the one of the first steps that we need to take. Um, and this is in all facets of our life or even our organization. It's the products, it's the packaging, it's the environment. Is really thinking about the end while you're at the beginning. And of course, at Dow, we think about it in many different ways as well. But we really, of course, focus on packaging a lot. And historically, design for packaging had been really focused on containment. The primary purpose of a package, and that's to contain, to transport, to dispense whatever that product is that you have. Of course, that needs to change, and we know that from the make, take, dispose linear model to a more circular, and that starts with totally changing the mindset of what this thing is going to do in the long term and what it needs to be. And we've done that internally. I see that across the industry, and seeing how that can really shape everything across the value chain when it comes to packaging. From our end, we have committed, and hopefully you've heard us talk about this over the past couple of years. It's to stop the waste and close the loop, and that's essentially what we are doing. We're looking at how do we stop the waste, focusing on that end in terms of collection and enabling that, as well as closing the loop, and that's designing and understanding how to enable materials for reuse and recycling. So it's both sides of that equation, and encouraging the design aspects of that to make sure that we're thinking of all pieces of that puzzle.
So plastics is a big topic, and only 10% of manufactured plastic is recycled annually. So how do we get better at keeping plastic waste out of the environment?
Yeah, we need to do better, and we can do better, right? A number of different areas where we need intervention and investment. I'll name off a few, right? There's technology, there's education, there's access and infrastructure, particularly when it comes to recycling, as well as policy. Um, what we try to do, and I hope this is helpful for all too. It's not just about what we do, but also how it can encourage others to think about how you don't necessarily need to stay in your lane, but really accelerate your lane, but also take others with you. And one is in technology. Like I said, we invest heavily in technology. It's kind of where we feel like our core capabilities are. Of course, we're a material science company. And in this space, it's improving recyclability and recycling in terms of the materials and the technologies available. And that's across all recycling technologies. There are a lot of them on the mechanical end, in the advanced end, and everything in between. And intervention in that space and an investment is really important. On the education and I'll say access in recycling, we work with a lot of partners who they're probably better at that, right? And that's where we recognize who those who those partners really are, and hope to accelerate their activities in any way that we can. And in that case, the recycling partnership is an incredible partner to have in that space. And some examples of that where we've tried to and we continue to work with them to identify communities that need access as well as education, and really getting to down like boots on the ground with those communities to understand what their needs and their wants are, and what the mechanisms are that need to be put in place that are right for them. We did that with Milwaukee and Baltimore, a couple of cities or examples, recent examples, where we were able to donate resin for recycling carts. And our partner Rarig, they produce the carts. Like, it sounds pretty simple, but also innovative in the sense that it took that to another level so that those communities could lower the cost of their recycling carts to get them on the ground faster into more residents. So those are the kinds of things that putting people around the table that know what they're doing and know their space and we can all look at, hey, how can we all accelerate that those are a couple of meaningful steps that we've taken in infrastructure and investment. We worked with closed loop partners and created the Circular Plastics Fund. It's relatively new, not quite a year old at this point, but the Circular Plastics Fund focuses on polyethylene and polypropylene, both rigid and flexible packaging, and focused on investing in entities that can bring solutions for those materials to life in the recycling and circular space, I should say. So, and that's across the value chain, and it's really targeting those materials that tend to need a boost. Because if you look at the whole recycling spectrum and all those materials and all the materials do need some support, right? Those tend to need a little bit more of a boost because they aren't necessarily the highest volume that you see come through a recycling facility, but they need good markets for those recycling facilities and the recycling industry to really operate in a healthy way. So that has been a great step that we've taken as well as with others. And then also policy, of course. Lots of talk around policy. In our the way that we think about policy is yes, but it also needs to be fair, flexible, and fix the problem. So fair in the sense that don't necessarily penalize one material over another, or all materials, like I said, need to have that boost. So let's make sure that they do get the appropriate boost needed. Flexible, so that that it can adjust to the ever changing landscape. What was good for the recycling system and other systems too, not just recycling, but these types of systems. What was good for them 10 years ago, 15 years ago, isn't necessarily what's right today. And we don't want to stifle innovation in that space. We want to make sure that it's flexible for the future and ensure that we can take technologies and solutions farther in fixing the problem. We want to make sure it helps, right? We want to make sure we're not causing another problem in those terms. So that's probably a long version of what what we can do better, but I wanted to share that because it does take a lot of different activities and different spaces to be able to move the needle, and all of those are needed.
Well, it does seem that you're juggling a lot of balls at Dow. So what gives you hope for the future?
Well, my hopes and dreams, of course. One that we're already having this conversation. We've been having this conversation for some time, right? But now I see this movement taking action, right? So I don't know if it was just over the last couple of years where everyone was thinking about what they really could truly do and what's needed to be done. Um, or we'll say seismic shift of the landscape really over the past couple of years to move towards more sustainable solutions. But that recognition and that need for action, my hopes are that we're able to accelerate this even more. I think we all feel that. I mean, now we have a forum that's dedicated specifically to circularity, and we didn't have that, 4 years ago? So, really taking inventory of what those interventions are and how do we really truly target them and bring them to the table. I think, that's my hope for the next few years so that, we can come back and have this conversation in 5 to 10 years and we're talking about the next movement and we're ready to roll that train.
I look forward to having that conversation with you. So
Me
I've
too.
been talking with Julie Zaniewski, Director of Sustainability at Dow. Thanks, Julie.
Thanks, John.